Thanks everyone for joining this session. My name is Richard Fuel, and I've probably got one of the best surnames for the solar industry as a whole. So that's that. It's the first time that I actually have been presenting just like this on a lectern. So normally I've got a presentation behind me. And what was quite nice is the first time I ever did it, so this is only the second time, I was actually presenting to a load of college students down in Fareham. And it was kind of given to me the fact that, there's no screen. Oh, okay. So what am I going to do? You're going to go up there and speak. And I was like, okay. And it was really nice because I had an opportunity to inspire these, 17, 18, 19-year-olds about the future of energy and the future of where we're going as a planet as well. So I spoke a lot about climate change. I spoke a lot about how solar works and those different things. So it's really quite nice. This time, I'm talking about how solar payback can actually work for your business. So the title essentially is about reducing your energy costs. And as we all know, energy is a very, very typical point year after year because energy prices are rising and what solar can actually do for your business. So I've been given 10 minutes to talk about it, and I was thinking to myself, how can I actually construct this and speak to you about climate change or about reducing energy costs? Because essentially, solar is the easiest thing when it comes to any reduction in your energy expenditure, and also carbon savings as well. So I've actually been in the solar industry since 2015. I started out as an installer. And that's when I had hair, and since then it's naturally degraded. So a lot of stress and a lot of different things on that. So a lot of people see me as a pioneer because I say it how it is, and what actually happens when you're talking about the future of energy and obviously the planet with the fossil fuels that we're using at the moment. So over the last 15 years, the market has had its ups and downs, and this depends on the energy prices, it depends on government incentives, and all those different things. But it was really nice this morning when Stephen actually mentioned about that we must take bold steps now. And the reason I say this is because essentially I believe that we're waiting for the next stage to come, and the next stage is never going to come because we're relying on the government. So as businesses, we need to take the opportunity to install solar and embrace that in that same sense. So I genuinely believe it's not a case of if you install solar, it's a case of when. Because essentially, when we think about the guarantees in life, we can guarantee the sun's going to rise and we can guarantee the sun's going to set. When we talk about generation, we as a company, what we can do is predict how much solar generation you're going to make in a 12-month period. But what we can't do is tell you day by day or month by month. The reason for that is we've got this funny thing called weather. And if we look at what's happened last week, we were generating virtually nothing because it was cloudy and it's February. Having said that, the last 7 days, it's been pumping the juice. And that's the one thing we can guarantee. So over a whole year, you can essentially guarantee how much generation you're going to have by installing solar. Now, to give some prices of this as well, I was having many conversations with people today over at our stand already, and essentially they'd be saying, so what's the payback? And the payback is just one part of it, because what you're actually doing is you're buying energy for 20, 25, 30 years. Once you've installed that solar system, it's not just about the payback, because in year 5, year 6, year 7, year 8, year 9, it's continuing to generate power, and that is reducing your energy costs every day for the next infinite years. So one of the questions that also came up this morning is, how long will solar panels actually last for? And the answer to that is, we'll be dead before they're actually die themselves. The reason for that is because they're made with a glass protection on the front, and the solar cells themselves will carry on generating power for at least the next 50, 60 years. So with that in mind, there is a slate of degradation. Again, my hair, I've degraded over time. So when we actually look at what the infinite energy generation can be, it's a very, very long time. So if you're thinking about installing solar, it's not just about getting your energy, it's not just about getting your money back. So if you give me £100,000 to install the solar system, when do I get that £100,000 back? Now, the answer to that question is it all depends on your demand. It depends on how much energy you're using. And this is where commercial solar really does make sense. Because if we're at home, I've got solar panels on my house. Where am I right now? I'm in London. I'm not using the power. So during the day, a residential solar system is generating power, and the majority of that power is going out to the grid. In a commercial situation, that's when we're using power. That's when we're actually generating the power, and that's when we're using the power as well. So coming back to that question, what is the payback? It all depends on your demand. If you're using lots of power and you have lots of solar power, then every unit that you generate naturally goes into your electricity supply. So that therefore means that you're not bringing power in from the grid. So naturally, all of that solar power is being used directly into your business. Now from that, any excess power, so a day like today, for example, if you're generating more power than you're actually using, that power spills over into the grid. Now you then get a revenue from that as well. So it's not just the savings, it's also an additional revenue stream coming into it. So the savings on electricity all depend on your demand and how much power you're using. Now the problem, and the honest truth about solar, is that November, December, January and February are rubbish. They just don't generate any power. The sun is much lower in the sky, and obviously we have much shorter daylight hours. But in every model that I've generated or put together, basically from March through to October, you're almost self-sufficient. It depends again on your demand and what you're doing. In November and December, January and February, you're bringing a lot of power still from the grid. So this then brings on to the conversation about battery storage. And batteries are the bridge for everything. The reason why they're a bridge for everything is because when you're generating power through solar or through wind, generally the wind is actually blowing the majority of the time, 24 hours a day. But over night time, if we think about what the wind's actually doing, we're all sleeping. So our demand for electricity isn't as great as it would be during the day. So when the batteries can then store that excess power from the wind, we can then use that power during the day. The same thing as solar. If we take a solar system, and if it's perfectly facing south or in a manufacturing plant, generally speaking, the excess power will be from, say, May through to September. And that's when we can then put that additional power into batteries and then use over night time. And that's the most common usage of battery storage. The problem with that is you're actually purchasing a battery for a 12-month period, but you're only using it in this small, narrow window. So what we're going to see in the future, and if you do remember this, out of everything that you hear today, remember this right now. Talking about battery storage and the energy revolution is much like talking about the internet back in 1990. It's going to change our world. Because what's happening is the energy storage will be a trading of energy. You will fill your battery up from the grid when there's excess wind, and then from that you'll use that power during the day. And when the grid want that power, because generally speaking what we do is we have a base load overnight, we ramp our production or our consumption during the day, and then at night time we all get home. We all get home, we turn on the kettle, we turn on the oven, we use more power in the evenings. And that's when the grid want to capture that energy from here before and then deploy it onto the grid. So there's a lot of commercial battery innovations coming. So solar is basically the first stepping stone to that market. And the reason why is because personally myself, and people will shoot me if they hear me for saying this, is what I would do is if you're interested in having solar and a battery, just wait. Get the solar first, understand it, watch it, see how much power you're using in January, see how much power you're using in March, what you're generating, and then after 12 months you've got that data and you can understand if a battery is viable for you. And that's both in residential and commercial systems as well. So we're electrifying the unit. I just need to talk about some other thing. I haven't even looked at these things, sorry. Okay, so yeah, so as I was just coming back to before, as I was saying about the payback and the investment into solar, it's much like car insurance. When you buy your car insurance, you've got an option of paying per month for the year, which is slightly more expensive than paying up front for a whole year. The same thing as solar. You're essentially buying your energy for the next 20 years. Okay, so after 4 or 5 years, you've got your money back, and then after that, it's an added revenue. And the thing that you need to consider with this is solar panels themselves don't really need that much maintenance. There's no moving parts. They may need a clean if there's lots of bird poo. They may need a clean after, say, 5 years if there's a build-up of lichen or moss or anything like that. But much like your car, you might need to service it every couple of years. You need an MOT, or certain things like that. So the energy trading of things with the battery, as I mentioned, the solar side of things is first. If you want to look into what the system can produce, your personal roofs, your personal businesses, on how much money you can save, what we do as a company is we take a model of your property, we would then design it with the solar system installed on it, and then from that we would then have a meeting with you to explain to you what the system can generate and what your payback and what your lifelong savings are going to be. From that as well, once the system is installed, you get a full monitoring system to understand your energy consumption, to understand your energy generation, what's coming from the grid, what's going to the grid, and you can basically visualize everything, so you even down to every individual solar panel. The one thing as well that I need to just stress on this is the insurance companies, because in the last few years, there's been some issues with solar panels, and just to be upfront, I say it how it is. There's been some issues where solar panels have combusted and then it causes problems. The problem with this is the insurance companies now are recommending certain technology to actually be installed on the forefront of that to protect the building. Not just to protect the asset, but to also protect everything below it as well. Because if something ever goes wrong with the system, in 2 years' time, 5 years' time, 10 years' time, questions are going to be asked. So the technology that we use is always compliant to every insurance regulation that ever comes out. I must say as well that Ryan, my colleague with the big good energy thing there, he's there with his little scanner. If you'd like to have some more information, you will be coming through to me, so he can come along and he's there in the good energy. And if you've got any questions, this is the time, because I'm out of time, right? Yes, I'm way over. Anyway, Richard Fuel, thank you very much for your time. Thank you very much. Cheers.